Hi, welcome to B&B where today I'm going to be putting in a gravelled area and a timber frame ready for a bike shed that we're going to be putting on this area. In terms of kit and equipment you're going to need, obviously the gravel or stone you're going to be using, some weed fabric with scissors to cut it down to size, a wheelbarrow for any deturfing, and a spade. And then in terms of the frame itself, I've got a couple of old bits of planks, some wood that's going to serve as the uprights. I've then got a rubber mallet and a club hammer with another sturdy piece of wood to put on top of wood if I'm tapping it so it doesn't splinter the wood. Instead, the impact's going through this. I've then got a line marker, or you can use string or talcum powder if you don't have line marker. I've then got a circular saw. You can use a normal hand saw if you don't have a circular saw, with eye protection, ear defense, and I've got my sturdy boots on. I've then got some heavy duty gloves, pencil, tape measure, a right angle, and then a spirit level as well. So the first part of the process is to assess and have a look at the area you're going to be putting this gravel area onto. So the first thing you've probably seen is we've got a big oil tank here, and the actual oil feed pipe is dug into the ground, heads along here, and then up into this pipe here, and then it goes on into the boiler inside the outhouse just next door. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to dig down. Ideally, if I was using a blank canvas and I've checked for pipes or cables, then I would have deturfed the whole area, get it nice and level, and then I can put the weed fabric down on top of that. But as it is, I'm not going to be able to dig down here because I don't want to penetrate that pipe. However, what I do want to do is dig a really super shallow trench that I can sit the planks into. And essentially what I'm going to be doing is using the path that's already here. It's actually set a bit lower the ground than the path, so I can use that as one border. I'm going to then set my plank in that small trench along here, and then another plank which is going to come and meet this area here, and then I can use that as the border on this side. So I'm minimizing the equipment I'm using by using bits and pieces that are already in place. So I'm just determining now how far I want to come out. For me, I've decided I want to come 180 centimeters out from the wall of the outhouse. The reason for that is I can still get a lawnmower down here in future, so it's just a nice sort of area. It just makes it easier to manage rather than having to do that by strimmer. And I've used the existing path as my true line to set off that 180 measurement. Again, if you don't have a natural line that you can work off, then it's up to you, but you always want to pick that initial straight line and then get your right angles from there. So I've marked off 180 from the outhouse. I'm going to do exactly the same down this side here, mark off 180, and then I'm going to get one of my planks and get one end of the plank at 180 that end, the other end here, and then I know I've got a true right angle, and then I can line mark right the way down. So those of you that have seen my how to lay a concrete base video, you may recognise this plank of wood. This is what I used as the frame before we poured the concrete in. So I'm just using the mucky side, if you like, which is going to go into the ground. I'm also going to use that now as my marker as I line mark this, because you'll see it will get a bit of paint on, but again that's going to be buried, so I'm not too worried about it. But I've just set the plank, as I say, between those two 180 marks, and then I know I've got a nice right angle to work off. So now if I take that away, I've got that line to work off now. So all I'm going to do now is line marks. I'm going to build a trench. So again, I'll set the plank across here, and then where those 2 points meet, I should have that 90-degree angle. Having marked out then the lines where I'm going to dig a super shallow trench, you can see from this angle the ground actually slopes up here. So to save myself a bit of work, I'm going to use this as my sort of starting point for the plank, and then I'm going to dig in once I'm beyond the pipe which just goes through here. You might be able to see the depression in the ground, so dig in that end, and that'll allow me to sink the plank in this end, and then I'm going to use my spirit level just to get the plank nice and level as it runs from this end up to here, and then again same along here as well. Showing you the process then. So I've dug a super shallow trench just along here, and then I'm setting the wood down into that, and then using the spirit level, he says, just to try and get it as level as I can. So I need to just come down a bit deeper this end. Again, any excess soil, I'm either popping in a wheelbarrow or dragging it down this end, just so I can get it sort of relatively level as a crude base before I put the weed fabric on. That plank is now level, so I'm just going to mark off on here where I want to make the cut, and then just neaten that up with my set square in order to make sure I get a nice straight cut using the circular saw. I can then cut my stakes or my uprights by cutting the V shape into the bottom of the stakes, and I'll show you that process in a sec. So the stakes themselves, I decided I want as much in the ground as there was height of the plank, so I've decided to go, in this case, for 20 centimetre stake lengths. So I'm going to cut this particular piece of wood, so I'll get 3 stakes out of this piece of wood, and then I'm going to cut the V, and just do that by eye using the circular saw. Using my 3 stakes then, I'm going to have one on the near side of the plank this end, one on the near side this end, and then one on the inside on this end. And this is where, if you're using your rubber mallet going into soft ground, then that will suffice. If you're going to use for harder ground, you need a bit more weight behind the hammer itself. Using a club hammer, this is where you can pop your block of wood on top to stop you splintering the stake itself. That's our 3 stakes in place then, and again at this stage you could either nail or wood screw the plank onto those particular stakes themselves if you just want a bit more support of the stakes against the plank. So repeating the process on this side, I've taken the plank, cut it to length, put in 3 stakes, and then wood screwed in where I had to using a hand drill or a screwdriver. Next thing for me to do now is put down the weed fabric. Now I wanted to save money on this particular project and just use stuff that I had already, beyond going and buying the bags of stone, which were about £2.50 each from B&Q. So I'm using old netting that I've got, so I'm going to double layer the netting. That will hopefully suppress the weeds and grass. So for the next part of the process, all I've done is popped the weed fabric up to one end of the frame, and then I've just used a couple of bags of stone just to weigh it down. That's going to allow me to pull it taut, and then I can cut a line where I want the weed fabric to end. And I'm just going to repeat that process, and then I'm going to do a couple of layers, just again because this is netting and not full weed fabric, and then hopefully that'll then stop any weeds and grass coming through. That's the weed fabric down, and I've done a couple of layers of this. With that layered, I'm now going to start pouring the stone out. I'm going to start shoveling it down to the more shallow areas and do a thinner layer at the less shallow areas, and then start to use my spirit level just to get a rough level on the particular gravel area itself. Fantastic stuff, all finished. So it took me in the end 17 bags to fill this area, and it comes out about 1.8 by about 2.5 meters, this complete area. If you're interested in the stone itself, this is from B&Q, and this was the particular bag, 17 of these bags that I used. So yeah, really happy with the result. All that's left to do now is just paint up the frame, and then we can put the bike shed and bike storage on top of that. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to help other beaters out there too. Take care.